Now to business stories. London Mayor Sadiq Khan has emphasized fintech as a key driver for expanding trade between the UK and Nigeria's financial hub. The mayor said this during his recent Africa tour. He is the first London mayor to lead a trade mission to Africa. Nigeria's fintech sector continues to grow despite regulatory pressures, highlighting the need for clearer policies on digital payments and data protection. Experts say that for London-Lagos fintech corridor to flourish, greater policy alignment, improved infrastructure, and support from both governments are essential. Meanwhile, the recent U.S. stablecoin legislation is expected to positively influence Africa's digital payment systems, potentially enhancing the speed and ease of intra-African money transfers and boosting the region's financial inclusion efforts. And now joining us to discuss more on this is a fintech expert and country director at Verto, Austin Okpagu. Thank you so much, Austin, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
An absolute pleasure. Now, Austin, the mayor of London toured Africa last week and encouraged trade between Lagos and London, including African markets and the UK. What areas do you see driving this trade more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what this underscores is essentially, that relationship between both countries is already evolving. It's no longer just centered on oil and gas or oil exports and what have you. But what we're seeing right now is that there's a surge in digital trade, essentially around fintech, SaaS, creative services, and B2B commerce. And at the heart of that is actually efficient, cross-border payments, right? And so with the visit of the mayor, I was very fortunate to be part of that, section as well. And what we're beginning to see is that both countries, within Lagos and London, which happens to be the hubs for tech, are evolving beyond just oil and gas, and that holds a lot of promise between both countries.
Okay, we also understand that fintech has been a key focus area. How do you see Nigeria's fintech landscape evolving amid the regulatory pressures, and what lessons can London-based investors or companies draw from that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. If you've been following very keenly the Nigerian fintech space, we just realized that it has really grown very fast compared to other regions within the continent. And that's because regulation has sort of caught up. And in many ways, that's a good thing for Nigeria fintech space, right? And however, we are moving beyond this from an aggressive, experimentations by so many Nigerian fintech to a one in which you're beginning to see a lot of resilience among fintechs. Recently, I'm sure you read that there are a couple of Nigerian fintechs that have become unicorns over the last 2 years or 3 years, one more recently this year. And what this is happening is that there's a lot of interest around fintech, and that's because there's already an existing, friction on how payments are made, not just within the continent or within Nigeria, but also globally as well. And Nigeria continues to serve as not just a test bed for ideas to be experimented, but also the world is actually watching what is happening. And they're now deeply understanding what the role of the regulation is in terms of ensuring that both the players locally are compliant and they are building for multiple markets. And that's a very key way to look at it. At Verto, for example, we've been thinking about this for a while, and this is why we sort of are compliant in terms of when it comes to Nigerian regulation, but also we're now aligned with how the UK regulation works as well, also in terms of the Kenyan standard as well. So I think that what is happening is that there are a lot more interest in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, also within Africa, that Nigeria or Africa is no longer to be taken for granted when it comes to, regulations around fintech, because we've seen a lot of successes that are homegrown.
Okay, so like they say, something always has to give. So what needs to happen either on the policy or infrastructure front for a London-Lagos fintech corridor to truly thrive?
Yeah, one very key headache that every founder or every fintech founder will tell you is there need to be better correspondent banking rails. That is missing today, or it's inefficient today. And the reason is because, look, many African businesses always struggle to settle their clients or their businesses either in GBP or in euros. And then the corridor needs, not just the African corridor, even Nigeria also needs, FX liquidity that is accessible and that can also be settled faster. Today, you're seeing instances where settlements happen on a T+2, on a T+4 basis sometimes, and that's actually bad for business. So we need to build faster settlement layers as well as easier onboarding, such that it's easy for you to onboard a Nigerian business to be able to do business with their counterpart in London, right? And in terms of compliance harmonization, this is one of the biggest problems that we've seen today. Why can't we have a UK-based fintech leverage on the BVN or NIN that is available in Nigeria to make it easy for Nigerian businesses to be onboarded? Those are some of the structural and compliance issues that we need to look at and to fix for this trend to scale fast further.
Thank you so much for joining us to discuss this.